Hi, everyone. Before we get started here, I just want to thank... They didn't give me their consent to say their name nor their email, which I wouldn't do anyway, because people on the internet are not always nice. So I'll just say, Kay, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. Their comment was, they love the podcast. Thank you for listening, by the way. Thank you so much. Their comment was, don't ever say that A can't know this because A is omnipresent. And focus more on the why as opposed to the how. Now, I completely agree with you, Kay. I learned my lesson from shows like Lost that obsessing over the how is a fool's errand. I'm a fool. I will probably still talk about it. But your point is absolutely well taken. But more so to your other point about the why, that's very interesting you mentioned that because so far, as I think about A and who or what A is or what they're doing, what they want, as Arya said last time, we're starting to get little hints of that. That's why Mona's been on my list almost from the beginning, because Mona, and I noticed the show is very clever. We haven't seen the Mona flashbacks where she's part of the, quote, nerd crowd and teased pretty much not for the last 10 episodes. We haven't seen that in a very long time. So she was kind of in Lucas's social stratosphere, at least in my head, when Allison was around. So Mona's always had motivation in my book. But even Noel Khan, we just get a tiny sliver, just very recently, a tiny hint into why he may be upset with Allison and the rest of our friends. But of everybody, we now know who has the most fire, and it's still very much on the surface is Lucas. Of all people, I would never have guessed that Lucas would be the one that shows as much anger on the surface towards Allison and by proxy the rest of the liars. So in terms of your very valid point as to the why, what if Lucas is the head A? I didn't even consider that. Let's just get into it.
Chris watches Pretty Little Liars. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars, so he can help you figure out who's A.
Hi everyone, this is Chris McGowan, aka Chris Magoogs McGowan, aka Chris. My allergies have been really bad lately, so I might be even more nasally than usual. On to, the hell episode is this? Episode 13. This is episode 13 of season 1. Know Your Frenemy. Know Your Frenemies? Know Your Frenemy. I subtitled this episode, Going Through Other People's Shit. That's the theme this week. In the flashback we see Spencer's dad say, suddenly Ian's everywhere, and I would agree. Spencer Preston here is sneaking down the stairs. This is very Spencer Preston house-oriented episode, because we start here and we end here. Anyway, she hears some whispering. She walks downstairs, and it sounds like they're chanting about Allie, and instantly, I promise you, I got this right away. They're whispering about something no one will know. I thought, oh, Melissa's pregnant. I wasn't entirely accurate, but I was close. So here is interesting. So she goes back up to her room. She gets an email. This is Spencer Preston. She gets an email, which we know for some reason... I think she's the only one that's gotten emails. I could be wrong, but I know she's gotten some in the past. She seems to get a lot of emails from A. Married for love or an alibi -A. Interesting. I know who this is. I'm going to save it for later. In the morning, Spencer Preston comes get some coffee. Ian's being creepy. You didn't hear us, right? Come on. Spencer's not that stupid. She's not going to say, oh yeah, I heard you. Ian must think they're really dumb. He says they're moving to Philadelphia, which is a kind of a bit of a news there. Ian says, we're family now. He lights the stove, much like he lit the tree trunk, huh? Spencer mentions golf. She's trying to... It's really nice, right? Ian Gross again says, no, we spent a lot of time indoors. Spencer Preston really pushes the envelope here. She says something like, oh, that's funny. Hilton Head is the same place Allie went with her grandma. And she told us about it when she came back, and that night she disappeared. Isn't that weird, Ian? Isn't that weird? And he was like, He didn't say... I wrote no Ian response. Just cooking some eggs. A little bit of a risky move because, yeah. Anyway, we transition to Arya's household with Dad and Mike. Dad casually says Mom's dating other people. That's kind of a shocker. Mike throws some blows in the morning. He puts down the newspaper like he's a TV dad and says, you lie and cheat, but you draw the line at hypocrisy. Wow. I don't even know if they got through breakfast yet. And then Mike storms out, and I kind of did laugh because Dad takes one more bite of food to kind of chew on his son leaning into him like that. I don't know. I just thought it was funny that he's like, yeah, I'll keep eating. We cut to Spencer and Emily outside, which I think is the set of the week. They were outside, I think the lemon cake shop, or at least they were posing it, dressed differently to look like a coffee shop. Anyway, she's doing a little drawl on the phone like she's from the South. asking about Ian Thomas. Spencer is certain that Ian and Allie were together, which I think we all kind of assumed. I think that's a safe assumption. Emily seems, though, unconvinced. And Emily also feels bad about Toby. Spencer says, Toby's lied himself. Emily makes a very valid point, which we are very familiar with now at this point in the show. If lying was a crime, we'd all be in jail. And you know what? Maybe everyone should be. Maybe they should just put a little gate in front of Rosewood and say, okay, everybody in this town is guilty of something. We have a very convenient Agent Cooper, not at all monitoring where they're going, comes out of the coffee shop, like, hey, how's everyone doing? Hannah gets dropped off by her mom, and they have a little chat in the car before she gets out. Ashley's mom says to Hannah, it's only a felony if they find out. Again, that should be the subtitle to the show, or at least all the characters' point of view. So Ashley does have some time, less than a year, to get that cash back so Mrs. Potter doesn't know it's gone. So there is a little bit of time to get this right. They've taken care, which I know I'm jumping ahead, but they've taken care of a lot of the debt, and this cash was supposed to be something that she could invest, and then later on, pull the interest out and I guess put all the cash back into Mrs. Potter's safe deposit box. So for now, it's okay, but as we know in the show, A will probably find out and make it a thing. But for now, we're okay-ish. Agent Cooper says, wow, the food in his town is to die for. I'm going to really miss it. So they're leaving because they found the killer, Toby. And she says directly to the three of them, is there any other reason I should stay? They're like, no, we're good. Cooper walks away. Spencer does confirm Allie was there the same weekend Ian was there. So even if it was a cover story and Allie's grandmother really did go, you all and I agree they had a tryst while at this golf course in South Carolina. Cut to school later that day, I guess, or later that morning. All four of them are talking about should they tell Agent Cooper what they know about Ian, etc. Once again, Noel is always within eye shot. He's out in the little exterior hall thing. And through the glass, since we can't hear what they're saying, Noel is talking to Arya's brother Mike, which, always raises a red flag. They decide, you know what, we need proof. Hannah has a great line here, thank you, Veronica Mars. So Veronica Mars exists in this universe. Maya walks up, her and Emily have a little lovely moment, and all her friends smile. It's kind of nice. And Maya's going to come over to study for real. And Emily's like, no, my dad's cool with it, so my mom's not going to be home. It's fine. And they're like, okay, we'll meet up later to study. Cut to Fitz's classroom. Chalkboard check. He wrote the G on Gatsby really strangely. It was a huge G. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how G's are supposed to look. It was really boxy. Anyway, Gatsby, the corruption of the American dream. And he underlined the American dream. I thought he was going to circle A, but he did not. Guess what? Noel pops in there. Is this where he folds? I thought this was later. Anyway, I have the Noel Fitz scene, and basically Noel, here's the gambit of this episode, so I may get it a little bit out of order. Noel says, I got a big game on Friday. Here's my paper again. Arya told me you misunderstood me. Here's my paper again, and Fitz is like, you just reprinted your paper. He goes, give it another look. And I think this is the part where the kids come in the classroom, and Fitz folds, because I wrote no in all caps. I think Fitz is like, you know what, I'll give it a look. And that gets Noel out of the classroom. Someone gets into Hannah's locker. So who got into Hannah's locker? Well, we know for sure Lucas has access for the yearbook. If you recall, he was going to do some sort of photo collage of all the yearbooks. The creepy detective was very interested in it. And I believe Lucas has keys to all the lockers. I believe. Then again, it's not too hard to get into lockers. A lot of people go into lockers this episode. Hannah gets someone in there. We're going to have a big reveal at the end of someone else who got into a locker. A lot of lockers today. This hallway is also set of the week. Hannah goes into her locker, and she gets another note from A, very similar to the writing that she found in her house. It says, go to 21 Main Street, ask for Hefty Hannah's order -A. I still wrote, this is Mona. This is maybe how A blackmails people. I don't know. Maybe this is what they do. Hannah hides it from Arya as she walks up. Then Toby is out on bail for the murder of a student. I don't understand this scene, because even Arya says this. Is he let back in school? So he goes up to his locker. It looks like the lock has been removed, though his books are still inside. Someone wrote killer on his locker, which, true or not, that's still vandalism, but okay. All four of them watch, and then some student approaches Toby, says murderer, and he says it like very casually. I mean, there's emphasis on it. I don't know. It was just a weird, I don't know. I thought it was unusual. We go to Lucky Leon's Cupcake Shop. Again, a place we're going to be at quite a bit this episode. Is it the same coffee shop from before? I don't know. Hannah emerges with a box of cupcakes, presumably, and the note says, or she gets a text. Sorry, she gets a text that says, want the money? Sit there and eat everyone, _A. I wrote Noel on there. I wrote WTF on here. What is the point of this? This is humiliation and punishment. Noel comes out of a car, and she opens the box of cupcakes, and there's little pigs on there. So this is personal, I wrote in my notes. This is not the same A that emailed Spencer Preston, per my theory. I don't think the one helping Spencer Preston is this same A. And this is kind of a weird, horrible scene. And just a content warning, we're going to be dealing with eating disorders and eating issues, just to give you a heads up. So 3 jocks are kind of sitting there mocking her, and one of them, not Noel, but he says oink oink, which further gives me evidence this is Noel based on what we see a short time later. There's a flashback, and I didn't understand this flashback initially, but Allie kind of walks in after Hannah has eaten a whole thing of pie. Presumably this is a few years ago. They hug, Hannah's crying, and Allie says, I understand. You don't have to feel this way. I can show you how to get rid of it. I didn't quite get it initially, but obviously I get it later. Cut to Emily and Maya. Of course, Pam comes home early, or I don't know what the hell she's doing, but she comes home. She hears giggling. She overhears, you like that? Pam, of course, has a freak out. She bursts in on them sitting on the bed studying. She goes, I can't live like this. I can imagine where this was headed. Oh, boy. Maya leaves. Emily says to Pam, for the first time in my life, I'm ashamed you're my mother. I don't know if that really lands for Pam, but she does not give a F. You might hear a plane, but I'm going to keep recording. Arya spots Hannah at this table outside the cupcake shop. And I think this is where Hannah gets the text, you know how to get rid of it, _A. Noel is in the background. For those eagle-eye viewers, he's just standing there looking at magazines on some sort of rack. And Hannah reveals to Arya that Allie helped her throw up. So basically, I'm assuming that flashback scene, that's what Allie showed her how to do. It's brutal. It's a brutal. Arya, for her part, she does say that's dangerous, and I think Hannah does get that. It's hard. It's a hard scene to take in, but I would be curious to hear people's thoughts on how the show handles these kind of topics. It does seem like Hannah is on the other side of whatever that was, although clearly someone is holding it over, is holding it over her head. You know, Hefty Hannah was on the Post-it notes, so Allie called her that. Did Allie call her that? I forget. But probably other kids knew about that nickname. Mona might have known about it, because Mona was teased, if you recall. I'm sure Noel had heard of it. And Noel has motivation. Noel does not like the 5 of them. So this feels something Noel-like. So then Hannah goes into the bathroom, and we're not quite sure what's going to happen. Even though she did have a positive conversation with Arya, A told her to do something. She's in the bathroom, then she kicks the stall door closed. She kind of kicks it, and it closes. And then she goes to a paper towel thing on the wall, and she pulls the first one, and it says, oink oink. Okay? This is another segment. How did A do that? How did A do that? So this is the cupcake shop bathroom. How did A get into the bathroom without anyone else seeing them with the paper towel roll exactly for Hannah to see? Not only does it say oink oink, then the next 2 rolls she pulls out has cash stuck to them. How in the hell did A do that? Did A bribe the cupcake worker and said, put these 3 paper towel rolls on the bathroom in the bathroom? Hannah doesn't do anything in that bathroom. Arya kind of walks in, and they're like, let's GTFO, so they leave with the money. Cut to Pam going through stuff. And the second I saw Pam find Maya's bag, I recalled very early in the season where Maya and Emily smoked weed. I go, she's going to find it. And sure enough, she opens up a little mint box, and sure enough, finds some weed. Oh boy. Cut 2. Fitz and Noel, confrontation number 2. And I had thought Fitz was going to change his grade. I did, I'll be honest. But I was on pins and needles, waiting to see what would happen. And I put, come on, Fitz. And man, when Fitz hands Noel that paper, it has a big C on there. Oof. I fist pumped. I truly was very, very happy. Noel grabs him on the way out, very aggressive, and says, you know what this means? And Fitz is like, I know exactly what this means. Cut 2, Toby. Apparently we're over the ankle monitor, because now he's just walking down the street. What happened? I don't know. I have a theory, but he's walking down the street, but right by the cupcake shop again. I guess that was the location of the week. Kids are scared of Toby. It's really sad. He goes into an alley and crouches down, and he starts crying. And Spencer Preston witnesses this all. It's interesting that the show picked Spencer Preston to see this because, as you may recall, she's been kind of most on the side that Toby was guilty for a while now. So this is kind of her episode to kind of maybe realign who she thinks is at fault with all this Allison stuff. Cut to Pam, Emily. Oh boy, these scenes are getting worse and worse, aren't they? She comes into Emily's room. She goes, "Are you stoned?" A big fight happens. Pam forbids Emily from seeing Maya again, and Emily shouts, "It doesn't change how I feel about her." This is just going from bad to worse. Boy, oh boy. Aria household. Dad wants to have a family dinner. Mike tries to get some leftover pizza. They love these pizza boxes on the show, and he decides not to. Dad gets a mysterious phone call. He steps out. Aria asks Mike about what Noel said to him, and Noel told Mike about an English teacher having an affair with his student. And then Mike says Noel's going to tell the principal tomorrow. Aria has a moment. She does say, I screwed up Dad, and we think, I did at least, she was going to tell her dad and Mike about her and Fitz. She doesn't. She's going to study at Spencer's house, which is a lie. And I put, so much for family dinner. Apparently Mike can't eat pizza, but Aria can leave to study. Anyway, she goes to Fitz's apartment. I did laugh at Fitz's drunk outfit. It's Fitz, but his hair is a little tousled, shirt untucked, and tie loosened. So that's how we know Fitz has been drinking. She come over, and he's like, it's over. All the lying, all the sneaking around, and it's done. And then I had a question for my listeners. He says something to Aria in this very difficult scene. It doesn't look right, but it feels right. And my question is this the show's POV on the Aria-Fitz relationship? That it doesn't look right, but it feels right? Or are we just to assume that, yeah, this is still inappropriate, but this is how these characters feel? I'm undecided as a viewer, because they're really trying to hard sell me that this is right. But again, I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure either way. He basically says, I'm going to resign and leave, and then Noel can't do anything to you. And then they smooch and cuddle. Cut to Spencer, Ian boxes. She starts going through boxes, going through people's shit. Melissa interrupts. Not the first time she does this episode. She kind of walks in. Melissa drops something on the ground, and I was wrong. It's not a pregnancy test. It's to figure out when she's ovulating. She wants to get pregnant. And Spencer's like, what's the rush? You and me. I'm like, what is going on here? Melissa had these things with Wharton and getting her master's in business, and it's so weird. Spencer's theory later on says she thinks Ian's manipulating her. To what end? Ian walks in, creepy says, I know Spencer can keep a secret. So I wrote in my notes here, Spencer can end all of this right now. Granted, her and Melissa are at a decent place. They are talking. Melissa says later there's a truce between them. So Spencer has a pretty big choice here. She can tell Melissa about what happened between the two of them. Melissa might not even believe her, but that would end all this Ian stuff immediately. Cut to Hannah and Ashley at the Hannah household. Hannah puts a little bit of the cash back that she got today with her A interaction. Ashley walks in. She tells her mom, and Ashley says, I know when you're lying to me. Hannah has a very terrible story about just finding it in the cupcake store's bathroom. Ashley knows she's lying. And then Hannah walks up to a mirror and says, I'm not a virgin, I am a virgin, in the mirror. Don't quite know what that means yet. I know what it means, but I don't know what it means. I don't know which is the truth, I guess, is what I'm saying. Aria calls home because she's staying at Fitz's, apparently. Fitz is still drunk because his shirt's untucked and his hair is still akimbo. And they cuddle. Cut to next day at school. A little joke about nuclear, I guess. I'm not even mispronouncing it correctly. Spencer tells Hannah, I think she went through the boxes. Emily walks up, and we get the bad news. Mom called the cops on Maya. So Maya's going to some sort of camp for 3 months. Wow. We cut to Fitz. Fitz is packing his shit. So that's a wrap on 2 characters. Maya and Fitz are done. They're out of the show. And then we see police going. I saw this in the background. So Fitz is leaving his classroom. We see Aria at her locker, and she has his face on like, this is it. This is the last time I'm going to see him. And I saw Noel in the background with the cap. And they bust open Noel's locker, and he's like, I've been set up. 3 midterms were found in Noel's locker. Everyone is shocked. Fitz is shocked. Aria's shocked. Emily's shocked. Hannah's shocked. Spencer's shocked. Everyone's shocked. And then we get another good A text. And I had chills when I saw this. Chills. I'm not even exaggerating. A's for Allison, not amateur. Huh. A is for Allison, not amateur. So this is where the whole title of the episode is coming from. A is a frenemy. We'll get to this at the end here. We're at Spencer Preston's house. Again, location of the week. Aria says, A saved my relationship, which, boy. Melissa interrupts yet again. She even looks a little differently, like dressed, when I saw her. She says something, I'm not worried about Ian looking at other women. Again, Ian kind of comes in right on cue. Spencer's like, And they leave for some sort of date or dinner. Emily joins, and the 3 other friends are like, hey, I have a surprise for you. She goes up to Spencer's room, and they have Maya. This is Maya's last night in town for 3 months. And she has some, what does she say? It took a village and a tall ladder. I didn't understand it before. Now I do. But now it makes less sense on the other side of this. But anyway, I didn't understand that, what Maya was saying. I get it. Anyway, so the other 3 are still downstairs. I guess they decide to go through Ian's boxes as a group project. They find a newspaper that says still missing. And we see someone outside is creeping. Someone's creeping outside Spencer Preston's house, which we have seen at least once before, if not multiple times. Someone seems to be good on creeping on houses. This happened when Ren with 3 N's came over. This happened when Spencer Preston got her first email from A because she was at her window. Someone has eyes on this household. They find binoculars in Ian's stuff. We hear some giggling upstairs, and then we see Emily and Maya kind of slow dancing. It's really nice. Back to the boxes. Ian's really into comic books. Not sure if that matters. Again, we see someone outside. Maya leaves through the front door. Apparently, the ladder was only necessary on the way in, not the way out. She's going to a camp called True North. Betsy Berger came back religious, so we'll see what happens to Maya when she returns. And they say there's nothing in Ian's stuff. And then, I'm calling this Good A. Good A sends another text. Don't say I never gave you anything. Turn on your computer, -A. And we see the full video of Allie and Ian. I put 4 lines under it. They all gasp, because I guess they didn't know that, which makes sense. But didn't they know they were together? I thought Spencer Preston knew they were together. I guess maybe they didn't know the video contained this information, but we see the video we've seen before as the audience. It's the night of her disappearance. We see Allie standing there. Camera turns on Ian. He says something weird. And then what we all have not seen yet is what goes on after that video. So the camera gets dropped, or the phone gets dropped. We see what we think is Allie's hand in camera. Hear some noises. She's wearing the Allison bracelet, so we can assume it's Allison. However, we know there are 2 bracelets that have Allison's name on there. Keep that in mind. There was a bracelet found in the woods, so this is ostensibly that bracelet, not the bracelet that Allison's brother Jason delivered to the liars. Okay, keeping track of all that? Great. Chase ensues for the tag, and perfectly honest, didn't really get much out of that. They don't find A, and there's someone running around, and they don't find him, and it just kind of ends. So I don't know what to make of that. And chasing didn't really do anything, but they were trying to get A, I guess. So where are we? Well, this episode further confirms my theory that there is many A's. I like the idea that my idea that there is a repository. There is a service. There is something there that everyone has access to. By its nature, no one who is using this knows necessarily what the other people are doing. Hence, the reason why we have an A helping and A's hurting. So this A that has been helping all along, I was like, who could do this? Who would email Spencer Preston about Ian, about the marriage, all that stuff? Jenna. Jenna is the good A. Now, granted, as we've discussed, Jenna's no fan of this group. However, she squealed on Toby because she said the only way he's going to be released of his accusations is if he's free. And so, Jenna has this information about Ian. And I would think Jenna suspects Ian is involved in the disappearance and, quote, murder of Allie. As we know, Allie's very much alive and well. This is Jenna's attempt to get the liars to use this information that she's giving them to go back to maybe Agent Cooper and say, hey, we have reason to believe Ian might be responsible. Jenna gets her Toby back. Granted, Toby's still in a bit of a situation where he is, but that's my theory. Jenna is that good A. Frenemy, also a perfect description for Jenna. Totally frenemy. I believe Noel is harassing Hannah. I'm not entirely sure why. It seems really personal and really horrible. I mean, I don't even know if Mona's capable of this. I thought Mona might have... I wrote in my notes, I thought maybe Mona and Noel were teaming up. This just seems even horrible by Mona's standards. And Noel is definitely high on my list. I guess we can put Ben on there. I just don't think... I don't know. We haven't seen or heard from Ben in a while. I'm just going to throw that on Noel's lap. He's in trouble, by the way, if I didn't make that clear earlier. So the threat of him outing Fitz and Arya is gone, so he's lost a little bit of power. He probably will be suspended. He's probably going to be even angrier at the liars. But yeah, so that's my theory, is that this repository of A they are fighting each other. They are in conflict, but they can't track each other. So they don't know who knows what and what they are doing. And the reason I say that is because I do think Allison De Laurentiis is also a user on this service, because that text message is so specific. A is for Allison, not for amateurs. Now, why would any A do that to Noel? Because one of the A's did say that Toby was in their way, and then when he got arrested, it kind of cleared the way. Remember that? That Toby was an impediment to whatever this A was doing. So why do that to Noel Kahn? Here's my theory. So in this A group, so as discussed, Mona has an account, Noel has an account, Lucas is the admin, maybe Meredith. Ben has an account, probably. I think Jenna has an account, and I think Allie has an account. Or, as I've said before, since Jenna and Allie are working together, she may not need her own account, but Jenna and or Allie are working together. And I think maybe Noel posted some stuff in the chat about her harassment to Hannah. And I think Allie did something. She promised in her dream / whatever you want to call what Hannah experienced in the hospital. Allie said, I'm getting sick and tired of this A, and I need to stop them. And I think Allie did. I think Allie used her tools to get someone to do that to Noel. And I think Jenna wants to clear Toby's name, and so they're giving the liars information about Ian. Oh, I forgot. Melissa and or Ian are part of this group. I would guess Ian's a user too. Mona, Noel, Lucas, Meredith, Ben, Ian, Jenna, and Allie are all signed up for this service. Yeah, now they're turning on each other, which is what I theorized back then. The flaw in the system, Lucas, if this is what you did set up for everybody, is that eventually the secret's going to come out. So the question is, as I wrap up my chat here, who is going to spill the beans first? Mona, Noel, Lucas, Meredith, Ben, Ian, Jenna, or Allie? Who is going to tell the liars what is really going on here? I am going to say either Jenna or Lucas is going to tell the liars this is what's going on. Probably Lucas, because I think Jenna wants to keep the space between them clear. I think Lucas is going to have an honest moment. Maybe the season finale, maybe before the season finale. That's my theory. Okay. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Magoogs, Magoogs, occasionally twitching on Mac to the Gal, other places. And I think I've said enough.